welcome to another episode of United Technologies presents Transforming Cities, Transforming India in partnership with CNBC TV18 and moneycontrol.com. I'm Nayantara Rai. Now, it's common sense, common knowledge that we all need to conserve energy, but actually making the changes in our lifestyles and in the buildings that we reside in and work in are much easier said than done. On this episode, we're going to take a look at some of the initiatives that are being taken by several organizations to make their buildings energy efficient. On the show, we're going to meet up with ML Sinhal and PC Lohiya of Reliance Industries, who give us an insight on how they are using energy efficiency across their multiple complexes. We'll also meet up with Rajkumar Singhal, the COO of Gurgaon-based real estate firm M3M India, who tells us how the developer is making its buildings energy efficient, while the president of UTC Building and Industrial Systems India, Gaurang Pandya, talks about energy efficiency in the smart cities context. Plus, Prem Jain, the chairman of the Indian Green Building Council, shares his vision for a greener India.
As per the International Energy Agency, buildings are responsible for 32% of total energy consumption. So buildings that use less power make environmental and economical sense. Indian developers are waking up to efficiency concerns and are implementing green designs in their projects from the designing stage itself. On the other hand, existing buildings are also being turned green by improving their use of energy, and over 3,064 green building projects with a footprint of over 2.67 billion square feet are also registered with the Indian Green Building Council. But what are some ways in which companies are installing technologies and processes to make their offices greener?
Whatever the requirement is there, depending upon building or any specific requirement, we do analysis what are the more power consuming items, and we concentrate on those items and try to select the most energy efficient systems as well as monitoring system. Only installation of energy efficient system, and if we don't monitor and train the people and all these things, we are not going to utilize the full utilization of that system.
So while designing the RCP complex, we stressed most on the design of the air conditioning system. Generally, people follow the VRF system, which consumes about 1.13 kilowatt per ton of power. But we have gone for a better, efficient, power efficient system of district chilled water cooling system, where we use the chilled water for cooling the air, and supplying the air we use air handling units, and the power consumption as against 1.13 in this system is 0.9 only. So thus this system is 23% efficient compared to the conventional system that is we followed.
We are monitoring this and we are trying to eliminate and we are trying to modify the system. That is the way we year on year basis we get about 9 to 10% reduction in the power consumptions, and over 3 years of period we have achieved almost 27% of reduction from the baseline.
We are using solar energy, solar power system has been installed. Whatever solid waste is generated out of sewage plant is used in burning the biogas. So, and this biogas is used in our canteen burners. Out of use of LED light, the saving is coming to the tune of 1 crore 38 lakhs, solar power 2.14 crore, biogas 21 lakhs rupees per year, and other savings of 4.84, all put together 13.45 crore. Annual saving has been done with efficient design.
Over and above new constructions, it is extremely essential for existing buildings to be made green by adopting energy efficient systems.
It is a big challenge to incorporate most of this energy efficient system in existing building. But even then, some things are possible. All these new items like solar power, solar water heater system, biogas, all these are new features which has been added.
Whatever the old buildings are there, we have tried to incorporate solar water heater for saving the hot water. We have put a PV cell all these systems we have incorporated, and we have put the energy monitoring system by way that whatever the efficiency incorporation is there, that we have introduced into the existing buildings.
After implementing energy efficient norms across most of its offices and factories, Reliance Industries has some valuable lessons to offer others who want to make their properties sustainable and energy efficient.
My advice is that they should do the continuous energy monitoring, and whatever the 3 years, 4 years period is there, until unless they get 8 to 10% reductions, that means they are not operating properly. Every year they should get 8 to 10% reductions, and if they are not getting, then they have to look into all the equipment which are running inefficiently, and they do the modification. Even the replacement is advisable.
It is a must to think upon this type of requirements, and one has to do it. There is no option that one has to do it.
Well, that was Mr. Sinhal and Mr. Lohia of Reliance Industries telling us how they have implemented green processes across the organization. On the other side of this break, we're going to hear from Rajkumar Singhal of M3M India, who tells us how the real estate developer is ensuring their projects have a smaller carbon footprint. Stay tuned.
If you look at US, Australia, others, they give incentive. Somehow they give subsidies. We don't want subsidies because money corrupts. What we want is incentivization. I'll tell you what we have been doing in the IGBC. We have been there for 15 years. We have been able to persuade the Noida authority, where my office is, Punjab, Rajasthan, to give 5% more FAR if you make a gold rated green building. IGBC is certified, so it's very transparent. What it does is wonders. Once the Noida authority announced, every developer in Noida, without any exception, made the green building because they got 5% more FAR.
Welcome back to United Technologies presents Transforming Cities, Transforming India. As we take a look at energy efficient and sustainable buildings in urban India, we meet Rajkumar Singhal of M3M India, who tells us how this Gurgaon-based real estate firm is making its residential and commercial projects sustainable.
We are encouraging use of fly ash, which is a waste product from the thermal power plants, in the structure completion. It is being used in concrete, and also it is being used in the masonry. So the bricks are also being made of fly ash. So waste product is being gainfully utilized. That is number one. Secondly, we are using double glazing in practically all our projects in the living areas or in the office complexes as well, to have better sound insulation and to have better thermal insulation to minimize the air conditioning needs. We are using intelligent PLC based controls for all the electronic components, whether it is the drainage systems or the elevator systems, etc. So the energy consumption is again linked to the usage, and therefore redundant use is sort of minimized over there. So we are using superior roof insulation in all our buildings. Again, the heat load and heat gain through the rooftop is minimized. So these are some of the features that we are using. I do not agree that there is a large upfront cost. Typically it is all about product positioning. So if you are positioning your product in the luxury market, then having green features sort of becomes mandatory for you to ensure the saleability, marketability, and also to ensure that end customer benefits from the lower energy consumption parameters which have been built into every stage of the project in terms of design, construction and post-construction usage also. So I think so it is a given, and the cost differential could be of the order of 20 to 30% on certain features, and therefore I mean we are all for it.
Most new buildings are wrapped around in glass, which one section of society believes is a cause for energy wastage instead of a means of energy conservation. What is Mr. Singhal's view on this?
The glass facades can have a shading coefficient which is commensurate, which is comparable or even better than a normal masonry wall. So having a glass facade, if it is intelligently designed with double glazing, etc., can lead to significant energy savings while actually ensuring all the advantages of the glass facade. First of all, thanks to the glazing, the overall construction time is minimized, and therefore a building is ready in double time for eventual lease out of for eventual occupation. So that is one big saving. Secondly, the facade system. The glass facade system is definitely much more attractive. Aesthetically it is appealing. It is maintenance free relatively, versus a plaster and painting building which requires repainting every 3 years to 5 years time. So those savings are eventually again to the owner and to the end user as well. And also the skilled manpower which is required to basically do a plaster, painting or stone cladding, things like that on these tall towers becomes a challenge. So therefore the labor dependence also is sort of reduced when we go in for glass facades.
The real estate sector plays a pivotal role in integrating greener technologies into the lives of Indians. But more push is required for better adoption of energy efficient steps by developers.
Yeah, apart from legislation, I think so the monetary incentives or the fiscal incentives have to be there for the sector. So the developers could be given the same kind of benefits which hospitality sector enjoys for the hotel projects. So we could be given duty-free regime for importing equipment and components in a development project which can then be used for green features or sustainability features in the development. So that is one wish list which I would strongly sort of push for. The other could be even for the manufacturers, there could be a tax holiday, reduction in excise duty, sales tax reduction. So those kind of fiscal incentives will stimulate the production and they will make it viable for the manufacturers as well.
It's time for another short break here on Transforming Cities, Transforming India. On the other side, CNBC TV18 Sumit Lakhutia is in conversation with UTC Building and Industrial System India's Gaurang Pandya about the need to learn from but not ape the developed nations when it comes to energy efficiency. We'll be right back.
One other question we have always been asked, how much does it cost more? I'm glad to share with you, when we started the movement in 2001, it cost me 16% more. Today the same platinum rated building in India will cost you 3% more. So the last bastion about does it cost me more, answer is no. It will not cost you any more to make a conventional building. What will cost you more will be your time required to make the building, time required to plan the building, to resource the material from the local sources. So really we are working at that building should cost you no more than a normal conventional building.
Welcome back to Transforming Cities, Transforming India. On this episode, we're talking about energy efficiency and sustainable buildings. To shed some more light on this topic, CNBC TV18 Sumit Lakhutia is in conversation with the President of UTC Building and Industrial Systems India, Gaurang Pandya.
In a country like India, a smart city must also be a green city. It's got to have energy efficient buildings because we are unfortunately a power deficient country.
Right.
So how can energy efficient buildings work in to add on to this ambitious project of the smart cities?
So buildings consume 40% of the world's energy from a very, very high level perspective. And when you start bringing that down to an India context and look at tropical climate and consumption of what's going to happen from that perspective, the buildings consume 40 to 50% energy. The mechanical equipment that goes into the building also consumes around 40 to 50 or 60% of the energy within the same setup.
Right.
So when you take that into context and then start saying, okay, we're going to be urbanizing in India at a great pace over the next few years. But as we get into that space and start putting that in context to smart cities and how will they play out from a longer term perspective, there's a lot of responsibility that we need to take on as industry leaders, as people that are operating in India for a long time and building out the cities in the future. And I think this will all mean us coming together, bringing learnings in from international building space, industries, bring them to India, but then actually developing them in the Indian context.
And that's really important. This, what you just touched upon, that it's really important to develop this in the Indian context. The idea is that we have been aping the West in some places. So we're building these lovely tall towers, but they are almost like glass boxes, which we've seen abroad. But India is a very hot, tropical kind of climate country. Are we doing the right thing, or is that where we need to tweak and maybe get more India-centric in that space?
So absolutely. I mean, I couldn't have said that better. I think a lot of the architects today, if you talk to them out in the industry, they're starting to realize this. They're starting to understand the fact that, look, if you go back 150 years in India, we were building in the right way. We were building naturally, building using what we had in our surroundings, and not aping what's happening in a lot of other places from a global context. So I think we did start off on that front, but I think the realization has come through very fast with knowledge around sustainability growing in the country. And I think we are in a unique situation from that perspective. When we start looking at the developed world, yes, we've aped them, but they are 100% built. We are 5% built today. So as we look at building out and for the future, we still have a big opportunity to be able to do it right and do it right today.
Another point of energy efficiency is energy conservation. Companies like Carrier, like UTC, NGOs, individuals are making, the government also is making efforts to kind of create awareness about saving electricity, saving energy. What more needs to be done? Is there a certain kind of behavioral change that we need to get into as Indians so that we can conserve energy and in a way then eventually become energy efficient?
So I think there are a bunch of things. I think if you start looking at the context of India, I think it's about first understanding what you're building and what you're actually manufacturing in India for the Indian markets. You start playing that into the context of either standardization or how the government's actually rolling these out from a renewable energy perspective. And renewable technologies is something, frankly, I think we haven't done a too good job at in terms of actually portraying what the benefits are. At the same time, I think the technologies haven't advanced enough to be able to be affordable from a commercial standpoint yet in India. I think they're moving down the path very fast, and we're going to see more of it pick up, maybe in segments. I mean, today, if you look at the building space, the government has, it is mandated in every building code that you have to have solar panels for your water heating. I mean, that's a standard. How many people implement it? How many people understand what the benefits are and what is actually going to get you to the future? So I think the government definitely needs to put more impetus in there in terms of being able to standardize, have a level playing field. And what are the incentives? I wouldn't say subsidies, I don't like our subsidies, but what are the incentives that are there for people to start implementing of these technologies?
We're talking now about the Internet of Things. How soon do you think this technology could become more and more mainstream in India? I mean,
so that's interesting. So smart homes is something that's picked up as a concept. I think that's more a lifestyle issue, right? I think it's a more lifestyle thing. Definitely it's going to help your lifestyle. It will help in terms of efficiencies in a home. But I think what is changing when you talk about Internet of Things or data and usage of data is really how you use that information in a building ecosystem. And there's some very interesting things that we're working on, both us and I know the industry is working on, to be able to interpolate between technologies inside a building. You know, a person walks in, how does the building know who's walked in? It's all done electronically. It can be done electronically. Which floor do you want to go to inside a building? What is your temperature set points? This is all stuff that we're actually working on. We're in the phase of development from an R&D perspective. And those are things that are going to be game-changing in terms of understanding the ecosystem. So you design a building, it's operated in a certain way, but when these are there's an iterative system which is taking data, assimilating it, and being able to change the way the building is operating using video analytics to be able to feed information back to an air conditioning system, using access controls when you swipe a card when you walk into a building. How do you use that data to be able to be more intelligent, both in one building but across facilities globally?
Gaurang, we're here on the shop floor at the Carrier factory in Gurgaon. Tell me a little bit about the R&D that you're doing to make the future of India more energy efficient. What's happening on that space?
Sure, and I think it's an important point because in the context of India, if I start comparing, generalistic market sizes between, say, India and China, and in general terms, any industry you take, any segment you take, the market size in China is 10 times or 10x the market size in India for any of the technologies that we're talking about today. I'm saying very generalistic, but that's the kind of range that we have. So when you start talking about implementing technology in India, what's happened in the past at least is that we've continued to see more and more technology has been adapted as is, or we're just bringing technology in from the West or from China and kind of implementing it in India. But you're not really building for India. And that's something that we, frankly, when you start looking at this facility or our engineering center over here, is something that we're focusing a lot on. everything that we're doing in localizing in India, we're taking the Indian context into play in terms of what does it mean from energy's perspective, what is the electrical power situation, how do you make sure it's sustainable for the long term and deliver over the next 10-15 years a sustainable product for the market.
Well, the writing is on the wall and it's good news. More and more businesses and developers are using intelligent business management systems and other energy efficient norms to make urban India greener and sustainable. That's all on the episode today. Until next time, from the entire team, many thanks for watching.
What we are now working on, what is very close to my heart, is for affordable housing. Please keep in mind, a huge amount of EWS population does not have a home. They have a shelter, but not a home. So IGBC is now able to develop, because we are entirely on our own, a special rating for EWS for LIG housing. We are working with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation. We are partnering with them. My hope is that another year, if I were to talk to you, I will say now I have a special rating for my driver, for the peons, for the malis and all, that their home should be green. Mind you, they are the largest contributor to my living comfortably day to day, because in India that's a necessity. If their homes are green, their children have a brighter future, I feel India will be on the path to progress.